I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's News Update. President Obama addressed the United Nations General Assembly Tuesday morning and said that, quote, containment of a nuclear Iran is not an option and that it would pose an existential threat to Israel. The president said,
make no mistake, a nuclear-armed Iran is not a challenge that can be contained. It would threaten the elimination of Israel, the security of Gulf nations, and the stability of the global economy. It risks triggering a nuclear arms race in the region and the unraveling of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. That's why a coalition of countries is holding the Iranian government accountable. And that's why the United States will do what we must to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
The president also reiterated the U.S.'s commitment to the Israel-Palestinian peace process, saying,
among Israelis and Palestinians, the future must not belong to those who turn their backs on the prospect of peace. Let us leave behind those who thrive on conflict, those who reject the right of Israel to exist. The road is hard, but the destination is clear: a secure Jewish state of Israel and an independent, prosperous Palestine. Understanding that such a peace must come through a just agreement between the parties, America will walk alongside all who are prepared to make that journey.
President Obama was recently criticized for comments he made on 60 Minutes Sunday night, referring to Israel as, quote, one of our closest allies in the region. Republican House Majority Leader Eric Cantor called the president's remarks, quote, very concerning, and said that the president indicated Israel was somehow one of our closest allies. That took me off guard because most Americans undoubtedly see Israel as our best ally in the region. When asked about the president's comments during a press briefing the next day, White House spokesman Jay Carney said, I think you've heard the president say numerous times that Israel is our closest ally in the region. We have an unshakable bond with Israel. We have a commitment to Israel and to Israel's security that is profound and unique, and that is demonstrated by the policies of this administration as well as the policies of the president's predecessors. And going back to the UN, Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad declared Monday that Israel has, quote, no roots in the history of the Middle East, telling reporters that the Israelis had been around the region for only 60 or 70 years, in contrast to the Iranians whose civilization has existed for thousands of years. The Iranian leader further said, we don't even count them as any part of any equation for Iran. During a historical phase, they, the Israelis, represent minimal disturbances that come into the picture and are then eliminated. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Ron Prosor, walked out during Ahmadinejad's speech earlier at the UN on the rule of law, saying in a statement that Ahmadinejad showed again that he not only threatens the future of the Jewish people, he seeks to erase our past. 3,000 years of Jewish history illustrate the clear danger of ignoring fanatics like Iran's president, especially as he inches closer to acquiring nuclear weapons. The Obama administration denounced Ahmadinejad's remarks. White House spokesman Tommy Vietor called the Iranian president's comments, quote, characteristically disgusting, offensive, and outrageous. He said they underscore again why America's commitment to the security of Israel must be unshakable and why the world must hold Iran accountable for its utter failure to meet its obligations. Ahmadinejad is set to address the UN General Assembly on Wednesday, which has been causing outrage and protest from political leaders as well as Jewish organizations. Top New York political and community leaders gathered at a press conference Monday morning in New York City, demanding that the UN take concerted actions against leaders in Iran for their statements calling for the destruction of the State of Israel and that the Iranian regime stop its development of nuclear weapons and disregard for human rights. Among the attendees, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who recently introduced a resolution in the Senate calling on the UN to sanction the Iranian president and for him and Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to face charges at the International Criminal Court. Jewish Congressman Eliot Engel, who also attended the press conference, later released a statement saying Iran is a pariah nation led by a leader who has called for Israel to be wiped off the map. There is no place for such a tyrant in New York City. The Simon Wiesenthal Center also organized a press conference Tuesday morning in Los Angeles on the eve of Yom Kippur, calling on President Obama to order U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Dr. Susan Rice, to lead a boycott of Ahmadinejad's speech. The Anti-Defamation League is calling on UN member states to walk out when Ahmadinejad takes to the podium Wednesday. ADL National Director Abe Foxman said the fact that Ahmadinejad must be allowed to speak according to UN rules in no way means that he should be treated with the normal courtesies given to heads of state. Further saying, as evidenced by his long record of incendiary comments, including his most recent anti-Israel comments, his hatred towards Jews and the state of Israel knows no bounds. The Associated Press reports that the U.S. Senate on Saturday overwhelmingly approved a resolution that reaffirms U.S. efforts to stop Iran from developing a nuclear weapon and says containment of a nuclear-capable Iran is not an option. The non-binding measure, which was first introduced in February by Senators Lindsey Graham, Bob Casey, and Joe Lieberman, passed by a vote of 90-1. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, who had lobbied for the resolution, praised its massive support from both sides of the aisle. AIPAC's President Michael Kassin cited the existential threat that a nuclear Iran posed to Israel as well as to American interests at home and across the globe. Also mentioning Iran's arming of the terror group Hezbollah on Israel's northern border. Kassin said support for Israel is bipartisan and must stay that way. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who's also in town for the UN General Assembly, met with Egypt's President Mohamed Morsi on Monday in New York City, where she asked the newly elected president to improve security and communication with Israel. The 1979 peace treaty between Israel and Egypt was discussed during the meeting as well, and Morsi reportedly told Clinton that Egypt intends to uphold it. And turning to Israel now, where several mortar shells landed in the northern part of the country Tuesday morning. No injuries or damage was reported. The IDF stated that the shells were not intentionally directed at Israel, but are believed to have been fired by the Syrian army aimed at Syrian villages near the Israel border. The IDF filed a grievance with the UN forces stationed in the Golan Heights and stressed that it will not stand for any Syrian fire at Israel. Israel reports note that this is the first time fire from Syria's conflict has crossed over into Israel. And as they are every year, Israel's security and rescue forces are on high alert for Yom Kippur and will be standing by on Tuesday and Wednesday at cemeteries, synagogues, city entrances, areas with large crowds, and other sensitive locations. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Benny Gantz ordered a 48-hour closure of West Bank and Gaza Strip border crossings, which went into effect Monday night and will remain in effect until Wednesday night. The IDF stated that exceptions to the closure will be made for humanitarian and medical emergencies as authorized by the civil administration, saying it would continue, quote, to defend the citizens of Israel while taking into consideration the Palestinians' quality of life. Closures of Gaza and West Bank border crossings are common occurrences during Jewish holidays in Israel. And finally today, a programming note in observance of Yom Kippur. Shalom TV's news update will not be seen tomorrow, but will return on Thursday. For the third consecutive year, Shalom TV will be televising High Holy Day services for those who are not able to attend in person. Yom Kippur programs will also be online for Jewish service members stationed around the world. Among the services carried live on Shalom TV and also available on demand are the Kol Nidre prayer services on Yom Kippur Eve and the Yizkor memorial service on Yom Kippur. We, of course, hope you are able to get to a synagogue to observe Yom Kippur, but in the event you are not, we invite you to tune in. You can find all the information on shalomtv.com. I'm Teisha Bader, wishing you a Gmar Chatima Tova.